Okay, y'all, this is support 8.5, and it's to get you good at factoring. So, first thing I do is I look for a greatest common factor, and there's not a greatest common factor in the first trinomial I'm doing, so I know I'm going to go straight into parentheses because that first number is a 1 there. So, since it's got an a squared in both parentheses, I'll put an a. Since a times a will give me an a squared. Now, since that last sign is positive, that means both of these factors have the same sign as the middle number. So since the middle number is positive, both of these will be positive. Alright, now I need to find factors of 8 that add to 6. So 8, the only two ways to get an 8 when you multiply is 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. Right? Now, the one that I need that adds up to 6 is 2 and 4. So I put in my 2 and I put in my 4, and then I'm done. Now if you want to check this, what you would do is just FOIL this all back and see that you get a squared plus 6a plus 8. Alright, so the second one. First thing I'm looking for is the greatest common factor. There's no greatest common factor. So since that's a 1c squared, I know in the front I'm going to put both my parentheses. Alright, in front of both of those, to get a c squared, you need a c and a c. Alright, now watch this. That last sign is positive, so that means both of these factors will have the same sign as that middle number did. So since it's negative, both of these will be negative. So if you got a positive at the end, both factors have to have like signs. Positive, they have to be like signs, and they're both like that middle number. Alright, so to get a 30, you got 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, and 5 times 6. They got to add to get 11. So the factors that add to get 11 are 5 and 6. So I just come in and put my 5 and 6. And then I'm done. So I get c minus 5 times c minus 6. And if I wanted to check that, I could FOIL it and see what I get. Alright, so this one is a trinomial, but guess what? It's out of order. You got to have the number at the end and the r term in the middle. So rearrange this so that you get an r squared minus 3r minus 10. Now notice there's no greatest common factor, and since that's a 1r squared, I'm going to come in the front and put my parentheses. The way to get an r squared would be a r times a r. Now y'all, this one's a little different because that last number is negative. Anytime that last number is negative, one factor will be positive, one factor will be negative. Alright, so let's find factors of 10. That'll be 1 and 10, 2 and 5, and that's the only choices. Since this is a negative, we want factors that subtract to get 3. So 5 and 2 will subtract and get 3. So what you do now, the larger factor, which is 5, has the same sign as the middle number. So the 5 will be negative, and the 2 will be positive. So that if you add that 2 that's positive to that negative 5 that's negative, you get a negative 3. If you multiply that positive 2 times that negative 5, you get a negative 10. So notice, last sign's positive, your factors got to add to get the middle number. Last sign's positive, my factors add to get the middle number. My last sign is negative, my factors subtract to get the middle number, and the larger factor has the same sign as that middle number. Alright, so this one I'm looking for, oh look at that. I do have a GCF in this one. I have a GCF of a 2 because 2 goes into 2, 8, and 8. So what we do is we bring our 2 out, and then we divide everybody by that 2 and put the answer in here. So 2y squared divided by 2 leaves me a y squared minus 8y divided by 2 leaves me a 4y plus 8 divided by 2 leaves me a positive 4. So now we bring that 2 down, and since that's a trinomial, we're going to go right into our parentheses. Since that's a y squared, in front of each parentheses we get a y. So all we're doing is factoring this inside part now. Remember, now that's positive, so both of these factors will have the same sign as the middle number. That's a 4, is negative, so both of them are going to be negative. Now, factors of 4 are 1 and 4, and 2 and 2. The pair of factors that add to get 4 are 2 and 2, so that gives me 2 times y minus 2, y minus 2. So negative 2 and negative 2 equal negative 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 equals a positive 4. Now, I will say, since these are repeating factors, you could write this as 2 times y minus 2 squared. So remember, that 2 is like the multiplicity, and that means that these are actually getting multiplied 2 times when you write it like that. Okay? All right, number 5, let's see here. There's no greatest common factor, so I'm going to go right into my parentheses. To get a v squared, you need a v and a v. That last sign's negative, so one's positive, one's negative. And then factors of 16 are what? 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. The factors that will subtract and give me a 6 are 2 and 8. Since the 8's the bigger number, it'll have the same sign as the middle number. So 8 will be the positive, and 2 will be the negative. Okay, so positive 8, negative 2 equal positive 6. 8 times negative 2 equal negative 16. And once again, if you wanted to check it, you could FOIL that back. Alright, look here. This one does not have a GCF. So when you got a number in the front like that, you got to take that number and multiply by the last number. So 3 times 8 equals 24. So I'm going to go to my parentheses. In the front, I'm going to put an R and an R. Last one's positive, so both of these will be positive like the middle number. Now we need factors of 24 that equal 10. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, and that's it. Now remember, they got to add to get 10, not subtract. So the ones that add to get 10 are 4 and 6. So what you do is you put your 4 and 6. Now, since we had to borrow that 3 and multiply to get to 24, both of these factors we just found have to now divide by that 3 that was in the front. So you borrow it to multiply to get to the 24, and then you divide your factors. Now, since this 4 will not divide by 3, we got to take the 3 and put it to the front. So that gives me a 3r plus 4. Now the second one, the 6 will divide by the 3 and make that a 2. So this one becomes a r plus 2 and then close the parentheses. So remember, if you can divide it, you do. If you can simplify it, you got to do that. But any numbers that are left on the bottom other than a 1, we got to bring them in front of the variable. So that a 3r times r will give me my 3r squared. So that's the main thing, just remember. Borrow the 3 to multiply to get to 24, and then they gotta have both of those factors divide by that 3. That's the step that most people forget, okay? Alright, number 7 here. I got a GCF of a B, but the numbers do not because 13 is prime. So my GCF is going to be a B. So I'm going to factor out that B and see what's left. 12b to the third divided by b leaves a 12b squared minus 13b squared divided by b leaves me a 13b minus 36b divided by b leaves me my 36. Alright, so I would bring my b down. Alright, so this is going to be, whoops, made my parentheses the wrong way. This is going to be one of the big ones. 12 times 36. So let's see. 12 times 36 is going to equal 432. And I need factors of 432 that will equal 13. So I'm going to start my parentheses with a B and a B. That's negative, so one's positive, one's negative. So let's find factors of 432. So I'm going to go to Program, And to find factors of a number, I use a program called Factors 2. So if you hit enter, I want all factors of 432. So none of them have a difference of 13, so I'm just going to hit enter. And let's see what I got. I need to get a factor of 13, 27, and 16 is 11, 36 and 12 is too much, 24 and 18. Alright, since no factors of 432, subtract, give me 13. That part is prime, so my final answer is B, and then 12b squared minus 13b minus 36. Alright, let's move on to number 8. Alright, number 8, there's no GCF, so I'm going to have to do this one by multiplying the first number times last. So 2 times 5 equals 10. Let's draw our parentheses. To get an a squared, you need an a and an a. That's positive, so these are both going to be negative like the middle. Factors of 10 that add to give us 11. Well, my factors of 10 are 1 and 10 and 2 and 5. The ones that will give me 11 are 1 and 10. So put your 1 and your 10, but remember, since we had a number in the front that we multiplied, we now got to divide both of our factors by that number. So 1/2 does not reduce or divide, so we got to move the 2 in front of the a there, so that we get a 2a minus 1. In the second parentheses, 10 will divide by 2, so that one just gives me a minus 5, and then we're done. Okay, so you can only factor these if your numbers have factors that'll either add or subtract to get them middle numbers. And then watch this, 2a times a is 2a squared, and at the end a negative 1 times negative 5 is a positive 5, a negative 1a and a negative 10a give me a negative 11. Alright, so let's see what we got here. There's no GCF, so 20 times 3 is 60. Okay, so let's make our parentheses. In the front of both of these will be a B. That's positive, so both of these will be positive like the middle number. So factors of 60 that add to get 19 are going to be 15 and 4. And then remember, you got to divide both of them by the first number, which is 20. Alright, so notice, the first thing I'm going to do is reduce these fractions, because they'll both reduce, although they don't divide. So 15 over 20 will reduce to a 3/4, because both of them will divide by the 5. Over here, 4 over 20 will reduce to a 1/5, because they both divide by 4. So, since I got numbers in the bottom, remember, both the numbers on the bottom got to come to the front, so that one gives me a 4b plus 3. The second one will give me a 5b plus 1. Okay, and then to check, 4 times 5 gives me my 20, 3 times 1 gives me my 3. And then the 3 times 5 is 15, 1 times 4 is 4, 15, and then the 4 equal 19. Alright, y'all, the first thing we're going to do to this one is put it in order. So the c squared has to be first. So 6c squared plus 4c minus 10. Okay, and then we want to factor out a GCF on this one, because all three of them numbers will divide by a 2. So you get 2, and then divide everybody by 2 and put it in here. 6c squared divided by 2 is a 3c squared. Plus 4c divided by 2 is 2c, minus 10 divided by 2 is 5. Alright, so bring the 2 down, and then we're going to have to factor this. So 3 times 5 equals 15. So write our parentheses. We got a C and a C. That's negative. So one's positive, one's negative. Factors of 15 that equal 2 are 3 and 5. Remember, the 5 is bigger, so it's positive like the middle. And then the 3 will be the negative. Now remember, since we had to multiply by the 3 to get to 15, we got to divide both those by 3. So let's bring that 2 down. 5 over 3 does not reduce or simplify, so we pull the 3 to the front, so I get 3c plus 5. Then bring that c down, because that 3 will divide by 3, making that a 1. So that's really all you do. You borrow that number, multiply, get your 2 factors, divide by that number, reduce them. If you don't reduce them, put that number in front, and be done. Alright, so these want me to simplify, so I got to factor r squared minus 81. That's going to factor right into parentheses. That's perfect squares. You get an r and an r. That's negative, so that's a positive and a minus. Factors of 81, that'll give you 0, or 9 and 9. Remember, perfect squares is like there's a 0 in the middle, so your factor's always got to be whatever the square root of that last number is. On the bottom, I got an r and an r. That's positive, so both of these are negative like the middle. Factors of 81 that add to get 18 would be 9 and 9. So now that we got them factored, anything on top that matches the bottom, we got to cancel. So we cancel out one of the r minus 9s. So my final answer is r plus 9 over r minus 9. Alright, the next one, I'm just going to move a little quicker. I'm going to factor the top, y and a y. That's positive, so we're both negative like the middle. Factors of 24 that equal 11 are 8 and 3. On the bottom, got a y and a y. That's negative, so one's positive, one's negative. Factors of 21 that subtract and get 4 are 7 and 3. The 7's bigger, so it's positive like the middle, and 3 is negative. So now, see, if your signs weren't right, you wouldn't have been able to cancel them y minus 3's to get a final answer of y minus 8 over y plus 7. Alright, for this problem, anytime something's in this form, a minus b over b minus a, that equals negative 1. So since I got x minus 5 over 5 minus x, that equals negative 1. Final answer. Alright, let's see what we can do here. N minus c, I can't do nothing with that on the top, so I'm going to bring that over. With the bottom, they got a GCF of an 8. So I'm going to factor out that 8. So in parentheses, 8c divided by 8 leaves me a c. 8n divided by 8 leaves me a negative n. So that turns into an 8 times c minus n. Alright, so what's that going to give me? That's an 8. Remember, that's on bottom. And then remember, n minus c over c minus n is in the same pattern as that. So that part really equals a negative 1. So that my final answer is a negative 1 over 8. Okay, remember, the 8 can't come to the top because it was on the bottom of that fraction. And y'all, that's the last one, so good luck.